Hey, so, am I still working? All right. Yeah. Hard to tell from the stage.
There we go.
So last week was my first time at Big Stand Comedy in 15 years. And, I thought I would be really nervous, but it was like riding a bike. Like riding a bike down 635. But seriously, I just don't get stage fright too much. In fact, my uncle called me a ham, and I thought that was a fat joke. I thought he was calling me like Porky. I'm like, you're full of baloney. I can call people pork products as well. Same uncle, he also called me a towhead. And I'm like, that's got to be an insult. And it actually just means blonde. I was very blonde when I was a kid. And, but it still sounds like an insult. You towhead. I don't generally call people a towhead because they come out of, sounding like a heel. But seriously, like, a lot of things I misunderstood when you're a kid. Like the word erratic, I didn't really understand what the word erratic, like I understood what it meant, but I confused it with another word. And I'm like, hey mom, the cat's running around erotically. I did not read that in any Garfield strip. Garfield, he really liked, he's liked his lasagna, and, I could probably think of some lasagna jokes, but honestly, they're too cheesy. But speaking of, stuff you do when you're a kid and you misunderstand, I misunderstood the song Manic Monday. I thought they were saying Magic Monday. I didn't know what the word manic meant. Just another Magic Monday. And I'm like, no, Mondays aren't magic. Garfield said otherwise, so. But, the other thing, when you're a kid and, you're on the playground, and sometimes the kids can be cruel, and, when you're a little kid, at least their cruelty is kind of, proportionate to their size. And, so the kids started calling me Stevie Wonder, Stevie Wonder, Stevie Wonder, and I'm like, oh my God, like that's, I'm like, that's a horrible thing. Oh, I'm so insulted. My mom's like, no, he's a really talented musician. You should take it as a compliment. So then the kids start calling me Steven Spielberg, and I'm like, Spielberg, that's got to be a cuss word, right? That's got to be an insult. So, but speaking of insults and making fun of people, Twitter. I spend a lot of time on Twitter. Stephen J. Lovelace. We appreciate his promotion. But I spend a lot of time on Twitter, and I spend a lot of time doom scrolling. Mostly I'm scrolling through pictures of Doom, the video game. It's, if you remember, it's a video game from the 90s. It takes place in hell. You're killing demons and monsters, and it is the most wholesome thing on Twitter. So, but yeah, other than that, it really, times have seemed kind of rough the last couple of years. We've had plague, we've had war and Ukraine. If you count the baby formula thing, there's kind of famine, there's pestilence. I'm like, wait, what's the difference between plague and pestilence? I always can mix those two up. Is pestilence just like pests? Just like, like a plague of locusts, or that's a plague still, but I don't know about the pestilence, but if there's just a bunch of pests, that's just summer in Dallas. So, but I actually wrote this whole big thing about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, and realized that pestilence was not one of the things of the apocalypse. It's actually, I believe, war, conquest, famine, and death. I'm like, oh, like the British Empire.
Yeah.
So, but the British, at least, they had tea when they went out conquering. The Romans did not have tea, coffee, any caffeine, any kind of stimulants. They go out and conquer half the world. The Romans were super intense. They stabbed Julius Caesar 23 times. If they had caffeine or stimulants at the time, they could have, chopped them up, made Caesar salad. So, but yeah, you think about the Romans drinking coffee. I think Caesar would have been a coffee snob. I think Marcus Aurelius would have had exactly 1 cup of coffee a day. Probably like cheap Folgers, just to remind himself that, life is suffering. That's a stoicism joke. But yeah, Caligula would have been, grinding up coffee and snorting it off a slave's ass. Yeah. Or maybe an actual ass, like a donkey, because Caligula, he was a pretty messed up individual. But you know, I never know how Roman history jokes are going to go turn out. And you know, I told my sister that I wanted to come off as a kind of a history professor who is desperately trying to be funny. And she's like, that's not a persona, Steve, that's just how you are. There is nothing burns more than a sibling burn. You know, but yeah, I think I did miss my calling as a professor. You know, I guess I was never really that good at math. You know, I did like, you know, so now I just do jokes about math that don't really add up. You know, I tried to, thank you. I tried to think of a calculus joke, but I couldn't find anything that wasn't derivative. So, you know, I don't know, I'm thinking trigonometry jokes, but looking around and just waiting for a sign. So, and, you know, I really like puns. So, you know, puns are, you know, I like to say puns are punishment, because people don't like them, they make them groan, and I'm just like, well, that is what I do. You know, so mostly I do Microsoft Office puns. Person said it, do you know any Microsoft Office puns? I'm like, word. You know, but I do excel at software puns. You know, I don't know what my outlook is for being a comedian doing that, but you know, oh boy. So, but thank you very much. And thank you to Sean and Susie for coming. Thank you to my parents. Thank you to my parents. Thank you to my parents for coming last week, and I did not shout them out. But you know, appreciate it. Thank you, Michelle. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Keep it going for Steve, everybody. Steve birthday.